Welcome to Ganita Sutra's Mathematics on First Principles. We are in Unit 3. Focus is upon text formulations. Today, our initiation is to be with respect to the pair of formulations Shishyate, Shesha Sangya. This pair of formulations together constitute the text of Ganita Upsutra 2. Formulation Shishyate is a scripture of 7 letters. These 7 letters accept TCV values 22611146 with a summation value 22. So Shishyate formulation is accepting TC value 22, while the Shesha Sangya, the second formulation of Ganita Upsutra 2, is a scripture of 11 letters, and the TCV value of these 11 letters 26613194613 is equal to 52. Therefore, the TCV value of formulation Shishyate is 22, of Shesh Sangya is 52. It leads to summation value 74, and the difference value is 30. We shall have a fresh chase of the formulations 7 and 8 in reference to, in context of, in continuity of first 6 formulations. First pair of formulation Ekadhikain Purvain constitute the scripture of Ganita Sutra 1. The third formulation is the scripture of Ganita Upsutra 1, and formulation 4, 5 and 6 Nikhlim Navasta Charmam Dashata or Ganita Sutra 2. So Ganita Sutra 1 Ekadhikain Purvain is a scripture of a pair of formulations Ekadhikain and Purvain. Third formulation Anurupe is Ganita Upsutra 1. Fourth, 5th and 6th formulations Nikhlim Navasta Charmam Dashata or the text of Ganita Sutra 2. Now here the formulations 7 and 8 Shishyate Shesha Sangya, or the pair of formulations which make the text of Ganita Upsutra 2. Now, as we have been previously tabulating the data, information of features and values in terms of letters, TCV values, syllable code values, Vedic code values, and Yama code. Now, these 5 flow streams of values attached with the formulations have been tabulated here as serial number 1 to 6 in respect of the first 6 formulation Ekadhikain Purvain Anurupain Nikhlim Navasta Charma Dashata. We have seen that the letters of these 6 formulations are 9, 7, 10, 7, 14 and 7. Now the formulation Shishyate Sangya are leading to letters 7 and 11. The first 6 formulations letters make a summation value 54, while the 7th and 8th formulation together with these formulations lead to the total value 72, and these two formulations together are leading to total letters 18. So this is the first flow stream of the data of values and features in the form of the letters availed for composition of the formulation ekadhikeन purven anurupen nikhlim navastacharmam dashata, and these 7th and 8th are shishyate shesha sangya, and the total values we have seen come to be 72. So first flow stream of letters leads us to value 72. Now the second flow stream of TCV values is going to be 40, 35, 42, 29, 50, 28, making a sum of 224 and 224, and 7th and 8th Shishyate Sangya leading to values 22 and 52, a total value 74, and the grand summation value of the second stream of values of the TCV values of these 8 formulations comes to be 298. The third flow stream is the values in the form of the syllable code values, and these syllable code values actually would mean the total vowels availed for the compositions of these 8 formulations, and these come to be 5, 3, 5, 3, 6, 3, 3, 4, and 6 formulations lead to value 25, while the 7th and 8th together as well, the grand total value of this triple flow stream comes to be 32. Step ahead, the fourth stream of Vedic code values of these 8 formulations is 9, 12, 9, 5, 27, 19, 18, making a total sum of 81 up for the first 6 formulations, and 18 and 26, so it makes a total grand value as summation value as 125. The fifth flow stream of Yama letters as such is taking us to the values 0, 0, 0, 9, 9, 13, which leads to value 31 with respect to the first 6 formulations, and 0 and 22, so makes a total value equal to 53. One may have a pause here, and it will be a very blissful exercise that one chases these values as these are in this particular sequence in which these are emerging, and then in terms thereof we shall be in a position to see as to how this value 72 ultimately as 6 into 12 means will be taking us to the transcendental boundary of 12 components of self-referral domain 6 space, of having 5 space in the role of a boundary. A raised to power 6 is to 12 b raised to power 5, and as to how there are 6 into 12 barabar 72 components needed, coordinates needed for fixation of the transcendental boundary. Therefore, it is one feature of these flow stream, first flow stream in the form of the letters availed by these 8 formulations, and therefore Ganita Sutra 1, Ganita Up Sutra 1, Ganita Sutra 2, Ganita Up Sutra 2. This makes a 4 steps, means the Ganita Sutra 1 as a first step, Ganita Up Sutra 1 as a second step, Ganita Sutra 2 as a third step, Ganita Up Sutra 4 as a fourth step. So these 4 steps means the 4 sutras out of 29 sutras, means 4 sutras and up sutras out of 16 plus 13, 29 sutras and up sutras. So these 4 steps out of 29, the total Vedic mathematical range of 29 sutras and up sutras, when these first 4 sutras and up sutras are being taken into, then these will lead us to this table, and this table of values as such brings us face to face with very rich spectrum, and this spectrum deserves to be chased sequentially in 8 steps in respect of the letters then 8 steps in respect of TCB values, then 8 steps in respect of soluble code values, then 8 steps in respect of Vedic code values, then 8 steps in respect of the Yama code values. And this way we will see that how these numbers and values are going to be a very powerful system, because we know 53 is nothing but a synthesis value of a pair of solid order ranges. These pair of solid order ranges leading to a value 53. It is a transcendental carrier of a solid order. It is this transcendental carrier of a solid order with 3 space playing the role of dimension of a 5 space is the feature which will come to pointed focus when we are focusing upon the Yama code values. A step ahead, when we will be reaching at Vedic code values, then we will see that while the Yama code values are reaching to value 53, which leads to a solid transcendental carrier, and then at a step ahead, the value is 125. This value we see is equal to 5 raised to power 3. And further, it would be blissful to see that when we split a cube into 8 subcubes, and when we chase the structures of these 8 subcubes, then we'll see that first cube will be supplying us, subcube will supplying us 27 structural components, while the second will be supplying us values 18. And like that, we'll see we're getting 27 and 18, then 18 and 12 for the first quadruple upper 4 subcubes, and below we're getting 18, 12, and 12 and 8, making it a total of 75. It is this feature, it is giving us 125. It is this feature which deserves to be seen in the context of these 8 formulations, in respect of which the Yama code value is leading us to solid transcendental carrier, while the Vedic code values are taking us to the synthetic setup of a cube as 8 subcubes, or a split of a 3 space into 8 octants, and as a result thereof the cube splits into 8 subcubes, and these 8 subcubes lead to total 125 structural components. We have seen here that how the solid dimension as a dimension of a transcendental domain leads us to the solid transcendental carrier, and this solid transcendental carrier is carried when as a 5 space in the role of an origin of a 4 space. So this solid transcendental order from the origin, when flows upwards, means when the transcendental phenomenon happens, then this solid order gets superimposed upon a spatial order, and as such we are getting here the value 5 raised to power 3. It is this feature which deserves to be comprehended well. It deserves to be chased, and it is with chase of this feature of the second flow stream of Vedic code values of the 8 formulations, then it takes us to a reach at value 125, which is equal to 5 cube, and further it is parallel to 125 structural components of the synthetic setup of cube as 8 subcubes. Therefore, the solid transcendental carrier carried by the transcendental lord, the lord of a 5 space in the role of an origin. Therefore, when the origin of the creator is the space, the solid order transcends upwards and gets superimposed upon a spatial order 4 space domain. Then within 4 space, a spatial order domain, this feature of the transcendental carrier of the pair of transcendence ranges transforms into a value 125, parallel to the split of 3 space into 8 octants and split of a cube into subcubes going to be a parallel internal structural setup of a cube as a setup of 8 subcubes. Now third stream is cell code values, which comes to be value 32. See, this value is equal to 2 raised to power 5. Further, we see that when we have a range of values 4, 5 and 6, out of this when we'll have choices for having reaching at value 26, we'll say that frequency comes to be 32. That means out of the choices from the values range, from array of range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then if we want to reach at value 6, then it is 22 times that we can have a reach at this. One can have a pause here and see as to how the Vedic Yama codes as first stream here at the end, the first stream when takes us to value 53, it amounts to that the solid dimensional order of 5 space as a transcendental carrier of a solid order is the outcome. Now this solid transcendental carrier, when emanates and transcends from the origin of 4 space within 4 space domain, then as a result thereof there happens to be a split of a 3 space solid dimension, and it as a result splits the cube into 8 subcubes, and those 8 subcubes lead to the total structural components 125. A step ahead now, when this reach goes to be along the within the 6 space, 4 space playing the role of dimension of a 6 space, then this takes us to and avails the format of a Sthapatya mirroring rod, and it is having a parallel array of values 1 to 6, and here the summation value 6 by choices from the values 1 to 6 comes to be 32. Therefore, it is here where actually we are at a phase and stage when the solid order transcendental carrier, when as a transcendence phenomenon within a creator's space emanating from the origin of the creator space, 4 space, and the transcendental phenomenon happening, and there being a superimposition of a solid order upon the spatial order 4 space domain, then as a result thereof there happens a split of 3 space as 8 octants, and these 8 octants lead to the split of a cube into 8 subcubes, and the total structural components of 8 subcubes come to be 125. A stage ahead, when a reach is along the format of a Sthapatya mirroring rod, which has a parallel values range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then the total choices of value 6 for out of the choices from this range comes to be 32. A step ahead, we are now having a value 298. The value 298, first of all, deserves to be changed as the triple digits as these are, and the value this comes to be 2 raised to power 3, here is a 3 raised to power 2, and here is a 2 raised to power 1. It would be blissful to take note that at the base we are having value 2, 3 and 2, while at the index we are having values 1, 2 and 3. So we see the index value or a sequential progression, while the base is going to be of the format of a cube, a solid content, a pulp within a pair of spaces. It is this feature that the pulp within the pair of spaces or a surface as a spatial order of 4 space. Now there has been a transcendence from the origin, and this origin transcendence is of a solid order. So from the origin of a 4 space there happens a transcendence. So this solid order transcends above and this as a pulp gets and fulfills the pair of faces. So the pair of faces of a surface acquires a pulp, and this pulp as such as it is. Now this way, when we know that we are transcending within a creator's space, means 5 space as creator space, then we know this solid order space, the transcendental order space, is of a twofold reach, upward as well as a downward, and it is with it, it is because of it that we will be having that this spatial order getting superimposition as a solid order, and in the reverse way the solid order getting a superimposition of a spatial order. It is this twofold phenomenon, upward as well as the downward phenomenon happening. This is the happening. It is the happening. It is this happening which is inherently here in the transcendental code values. So this phenomenon of a transcendental code value is the phenomenon which deserves to be chased faithfully. One is to be very gentle, and one is to respect the placement of every digit. So triple digit formulations, so expressions triple digit in the form of availing is 8, 9 and 2 with these particular features on a further chase will take us to as to how this organization of 8 formulations at this flow stage when takes us to this value, and at a further step when we are reaching at the transcendental boundary of a 6 space. Now we are here at the transcendental boundary of a 6 space, and this as being a raised to power 6 is to 12 b raised to power 5. Therefore there are required as many as 72 coordinates are needed to have a fixation for this boundary in with this feature. And so between this 72 and value 32 we know the difference is of a value 40. It is this value difference of value 40 will bring us face to face with as to how the transcendental domain will have enveloping a creative boundary envelope, and it is of a 10 components, and fixation of boundary here is a 40. So the transcendental boundary fixation of the self-referential domain means 6 space requires 72 coordinates. The transcendental domain within creative boundary requires 40 coordinates, and 6 space itself is a having value 2 raised to power 5 is equal to 32. It is here where we will see that we are actually having a reach in the form that transcendental boundary for the self-referential domain and a creative boundary for this space, and this 4 space again going out in this dimensionalizing out space as a 6 space. Now it is here where 5 space as a origin of this will be taking us to value 2 raised to power 5. Now these are the features which deserve to be chased fully. One shall very sincerely and faithfully reach from 53 to 125 to 32 to 72, and then when we'll see that in between there is going to be this phenomenon, and the value emerging in between is 298, which as dimension will take us to value 300. And this value 300 is 3 into 10. It is equal to 60 into 5. And this way will help us that when we are having a transcendental boundary, this transcendental boundary of 12 components will give us 12 into 5 is equal to 60. It is this value 60 which further will help us appreciate as that then 5 space as a domain here will give us the value 300. Therefore it is here where we have to have a halt, here where we have to have a smooth chase. Now it is this structural phenomenon, it is this structural chase which deserves to be followed step by step in a very gentle way in a sequential steps. Now these sequential steps chase, when is seen in the context of the reach up till the first 6 steps, which gives us value 31, 81, 29, 224 and 50. Now therefore when one we will be having a chase up till this, then it will help us appreciate how the transition from here to here is going to be a very big step. Likewise, when we'll see that when we are up till 1 and 2, means up till Ganita Sutra 1, and then when we'll be having an addition of a Ganita of Sutra 1, then here as well we have to have a stop, and then like that we have to reach here and the transit here. From here, when these 3 formulations together as the text of Ganita of Sutra 2, Ganita Sutra 2, this will be another phase. Like that, phase wise as sequentially as well, we have to reach at this. Here we have seen, we will be face to face with, as that mathematics is actually step by step going to be a very, very rich spectrum. So richness of the spectrum at each step is a degree of transcendental values being added, and this flow wise, these 5 streams flow of the transcendental values at each step is enriching the spectrum. So this richness is to be chased. Now we can imagine that when we will reach up till the last, when the full stream, full 5-fold flow of the transcendental values as tabulated will reach from the first formulation to the last formulation of the text, it will become a very rich. Therefore, we have to be slow. Here we can then take another route. This will be that let us chase them a letter wise, because these formulations are actually availing the individual letters of the Devanagari alphabet. Therefore, let us have this serial number 1 to 16 conveying as if these are representing the sutras. Then the first sutra. Let us take the first sutra and chase its letter 1 to the letter 16th. These letters we see will take us to value 75. Now, if instead of chasing letter 1 to letter 16 of Ganita Sutra 1, we have the first letters of all the sutras. This is the first letter of Ganita Sutra 1, this is the first letter of Ganita Sutra 2, and like that it is going to the first letter of Ganita Sutra 16. Then these first letters of 16 sutras as such are leading us to value 64. The second letter will lead us to value 58. So the second letter of sutras 1 to 16 will lead us to value 58, and third letter will lead us to value 69. We are for the present stopping here, but otherwise we have to take up till the last letter of the text of these sutras. And we know Ganita Sutra 2 is a scripture of 28 letters, so like that we have to have 28 steps. I'm stopping here. Now Ganita Sutra 1, all the letters text give us value 75. Let us see the value 75 is the value of the synthesis of the transcendental ranges, means 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. It gives us to value 75. So the Ganita Sutra 1 as such is a scripture whose 16 letters lead to value 75, which is equal to synthesis value of pair of transcendence ranges of transcendental order. Now see, The first letters of all these 16 sutras lead to value 64. Now value 64 is the synthesis value of a pair of transcendence ranges of creative order. The pair of transcendence ranges of creative raw order as such as these are leading us to a value 64. One may have a pause here. One shall stop here. One shall see that if we are having the flow of the 16 letters of the text of Ganita Sutra 1 itself, it takes us to value 75, which is the synthesis value of pair of transcendence ranges of transcendental order. However, when we are chasing the first letters of Ganita Sutra 1 to Ganita Sutra 16, then it leads to value 64, which is parallel to the synthesis value of a pair of transcendence ranges of creative order. A beautiful, rich, beautiful feature of the organization. This beautiful feature of the organization as such deserves to be imbibed, because it is in terms of these values imbibing, it is in terms of these features. So these values and features, when are having a chase like this, a letter wise, say first letter of all the sutras, then it will be bringing us face to face with the internal organization features of this format. It is in terms of this feature we will be in a position to appreciate as to how the formulations wise the spectrum of the transcendental flow, fivefold flow of the transcendental values emerging from the first formulation to the last formulation is giving us such a rich, blissful spectrum as it is. However, the richness and bliss of the ambrosia of the spectrum of the values when we proceed formulation wise can be chased by having an alternative view of and in terms of the glasses of the spectrum of the letter-wise chase. Now this letter-wise chase as such is going to facilitate our comprehension, and our insight is going to be really blissful. When we reach for the value 58 for the second letters of Ganita Sutra 1 to 16, and value 58 is equal to 29 plus 29, and this is a value of a Brahma, presiding deity of 4 space and presiding deity of a 4 space. Further, this 58 is a TCV value of formulation Krishan Dvaipayan. The Krishan Dvaipayan is the designation of Vyas. Krishan Dvaipayan is the author of Vedanta, Brahma Sutra, the end reach value of the essence of values of the Vedas. So a sense of the Vedic values authored by Krishan Dvaipayan, Vyas, as of a TC value 58 is going to be a 29 and 29 as a TCV value of formulation Brahma, the Creator, the Supreme. Creator and the Supreme interacting with Himself. So Creator, the Supreme, is interacting with Himself, means 4 space is interacting with 4 space. We know the synthesis value, a pair of creative dimensions, is 6. As such, a transition from 64 to 58 is going to be a blissful transition. A step ahead when we third letters are taken of all the sutras takes to value 69, which is equal to 3 into 23. Blissful, very blissful. 23 is the value of Anant. It is Sahastra. It is Goddess Parvati. And further we know the values range 1 to 14 are leading to factors 23, and value 14 is the value of 2, 3, 4, 5, the fourfold manifestation layer, of 4 space, hypercube 4. It is this way we see that this transition is sequentially taking us like that, and these values, these features, these formats interconnect, and mathematics emerging on a chase, a letter-wise chase of these sutras when is imbibed, and when on with this imbibing we will be reapproaching the formulations of the constituting the text of the sutras, then we will be really blissful and will be appreciating. Here it also will be blissful to take note that simultaneously with the letters of the sutras we may have to proceed with the letters of the Upsutras as well. Therefore the first letter of the first Upsutra is giving value 2, second is also giving value 2, third is also giving value 2, fourth is giving a value 4, fifth is giving value 7. Then we are at when Yavdunam, Yavdunya Kritam, Antyor Daskyapi, Antyorev, and then we are getting at Samuchya Gunita, then Lopnam Sthapanam Bhyam, Vilokanam, and ultimately at Gunit Samuchya. So these values 2, 4, 6, 10, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 24, 29, and 39. And we know value 39 is equal to 3 into 13. Further we know it is a TCB value of formulation Maheshwar, a Lord Shivas. This is how within a creator's space, 4 space, the transcendental origin is to play and is to unfold and play its role. So these features of sutras combined together with this spectrum of the formulations are to be simultaneously chased, and it is this simultaneous chase which is going to help us. Thank you very much.